So, good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the online video lectures of the computer vision course. In the last class, we started our discussion about Huff transforms. The motivation for Huff transforms is that there could be quite a lot of instances where using uh, right away the gradients, or even for that matter, canny edge detector, might not give you the desired edges. For example, this is a one scenario where you know for sure these edges are lines. Let's say you would like to get the outline of this mirror, for example. So in those cases where you have a prior knowledge about the edges, and that prior knowledge telling you that these are parametric edges, how can we incorporate this information and get edges that are kind of lines there? So that's the idea. And we had also seen few more examples where we could notice that these edges could be in fact lines. This is for, let's say we want to get the outline of this building there. As you could see in the rightmost picture, these you would prefer having these straight lines rather than having something like this if your objective is to get, let's say, an outline of that building. And another example here where you have the corridor, you would like to get the corridor outline. Maybe you want to let it for a surveillance application, or it could be any other, let's say, augmented reality application. You would rather prefer the kind of edges that you could need to get here are straight lines. So how to do that? Another example here is, for example, the IC, everything is getting assembled there in a chip, and you might expect there to the objects within that needs to be put in the right place are kind of straight lines there. It could be outlined by straight lines. Another application you could see there. So one more thing where you want to keep track of pedestrians, let's say. Another one, you want to play with a computer, and the moves by computer, let's say, are made by a robot. Or you just need, both, maybe two players are playing, you just want to record the whole stuff and make an analysis of those games. Okay, don't ask me why not keep the camera on the top. It could have its own issues, or you could in fact come up with more sophisticated things also. Just to give an idea or motivation on where this could have applications, I am telling you here one scenario. Okay, now we wanted to start with a basic problem at a simple level. So that could be simply you want to put the parametric edge is kind of parameterized by a line. So how could you parameterize a line? That's what we started looking into it. So that is when one mistake, that's also is not exactly a mistake, but what I was telling is, on one side image space, on another side Huff space. I was referring to it as transform space, but perhaps you could call it as a parameter space is a more right word than what I used in the previous class, because the parameter, it can be, a line can be parameterized by its slope and intercept. These two being the parameters, you refer this transformed space as parameter space, right? Now, if you have a point in the xy plane, if you have a point in the xy plane, and if you look at it in the parameter space, if you want to have all the lines that could pass through this point, right? So you would see it's not very difficult. Y equal to mx plus c is the line, let's say, and you have this one as x naught and y naught. Once you substitute it, y naught equal to m times x naught plus c, correct? And now you write it in terms of m, and or you better write it even in terms of b. So then, or c for that matter, I'm using y equal to mx plus c. So c is equal to minus x naught times m plus y naught. Now you could see here the relationship between the intercept and the slope is again a straight line, giving you the message here that in the parametric space, a point in the spatial domain, or you can call it as a pixel domain as well, or simply image space, can be represented, gets represented by a straight line in the parametric space. Now, suppose you have yet another point other than this x naught, y naught. Assume that you have x1, y1. Now the common, so these two, how could you characterize a line passing through these 2 points? So on one point, so essentially that line has the same, when you see from the viewpoint of x0 y1 and x1 y1, x0 y0 and x1 y1, it should of course is that line which is having the same slope and intercept combination. So essentially that would be an intersection of two lines here. That's what you would getting. And you could extend it further to multiple points, and it's not difficult to figure out here that since this all these points in the parametric space, the same set of mx values would be represented by a line passing through, let's say, these 3 points. So that's, and maybe something very close to that. And when you are binarizing it, this assume that here in the parametric space, m is something you are having a control over. You are varying it in a predefined interval values, and then you are computing the respective b values and maybe quantizing it with some accuracy there to a nearest some floating value, maybe for to till the first decimal or so, depending on the context. And then by that, how do you get a line here is very simple. Now the moment you are looking at it in the parametric space is simply that line where there are maximum number of intersections. Now we rephrased this intersections in a slightly different way in terms of implementation. This is going to represent uh, that value of m and b for which you have maximum number of votes. How is this concept of votes is coming? Let's say for this point, this is your line. Okay, that means assume that this bin is corresponding to a particular m value, and this corresponds to the resultant b value for this m value. So you initially you have a 2D array where everything is initialized to 0, and then you make, the moment you got it here, this array cell you increment it by 1. Similarly, this you increment it by 1, increment it by 1, increment it by 1, increment it by 1, increment it by 1. Since it's the first line you are going through it, that means now those respective cells will have a value of 1. Now you do the same thing here. What's going to happen now? This will have the value 2, right? And maybe if there is another possible line here, another thing, and finally if you look at it, it is this cell where you have maximum value, or we are voting that this should be the m and b value. So this line is telling you that I vote that if this is m and b this configuration, there is one vote kept here, one vote kept here. Finally everything is telling you, all these points are telling you that we all unanimously vote for this combination of m and b, and that's how you are going to fit the line there. Yes sir.
So, a doubt from my side: this when you're taking votes for these individual bins,
Hmm.
like for example, the central bin that is there, that
Hmm.
is like intuitively that's correct. But when we
Hmm.
move just uh, one
Step
cell
above.
left to that bin,
Ah, right,
all
this line.
the lines.
Hmm.
No, so same.
This one,
Yeah,
right?
that one only.
Yeah,
There is
yeah.
the central cell, and there's
Hmm.
one cell left to that. All the
Hmm.
lines are still passing through that, so why not vote for that? And even the one to the right. So
Right.
those two can also be candidates. So
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah, very good. So that is another possible extension that has been in fact done in practice for the Huff transform. But another one extension that has been already there in existence is, they see it is again there could be some shift here. See, when this is passing it this way, you notice here, although we kept it to this one, maybe not, this is not the right example. Let me take this line. Hope my cursor is visible. You take this line. Okay, so now it has kept, it is only fractionally into this bin, and slightly away from this bin. So in fact they give some non-integer floating point weights to both this and this, where a slight increase would be there for this. Okay, so the neighbors also would get some weight there put in terms of votes, where vote is not taken as just 0 and 1. So that should hopefully is answering what you are thinking. It is in
Yes, sir.
similar
Yes.
lines
Yeah.
to what you are
Yeah.
thinking, right? So this should give you hopefully some way of thinking, okay, some philosophy of thinking in a technical problems where we are not sure of the problem, we are sure of the problem, and then we are trying to figure out solutions for it. So you should, every time you are reading anything textbook material also, you should not be modest, okay, you should feel as if you are going to invent something, okay. That is only then you will get the excitement of thinking, and you would also, we also would be getting the right way of thinking, and we would be later when a problem comes which needs to be addressed, maybe when you are working in a company or when you are doing research, you will then you are already equipped with the right way of thinking and coming up with the solution for it. You now imagine that whatever algorithm that we have discussed so far for computing the edges, we applied on this thresholded image, and I am making a statement that it can never find these edges that I have shown here. Can you tell me now the reason why it fails? I am restating maybe with slight rephrase. See, you are given this thresholded image obtained as a result of applying a threshold on the magnitude of gradients. Okay. And then what I will do now, I will go through each pixel is a point now here, each pixel with a non-zero value. This is a binary image, which means you have either 0 or 1 after thresholding. I'll now go through each one. Let's say I go through this point. I'll populate it to my MB parametric 2D array, okay, and I'll do the whole stuff. And then you could already notice that these are the lines where you have maximum number of votes coming. So later I would put a threshold on number of votes. Now the statement I am making out is, for the kind of model that we have adopted for representing the line, we can never find out all the lines that were shown here. Now I have two questions. First question, which are the lines that cannot be found? Second question, why? Maybe to give you a hint, it will nicely find out these edges here. Okay, this it will not fail. Okay, these edges you could somehow adjust your thresholds you are applying and the gradients, the threshold you are applying a number of votes, you could manage to get these three lines. But you, with the kind of model that we have adopted for a straight line representation of straight line, you could never find this out. That's the statement I am making. The problem comes from the way we represented a line. Now answer my question. See, this is a slope vertical line, means what is the slope for it? Infinity. How are we designing our algorithm? Okay, look at here. I am changing this m here and corresponding b. Where will I have this m? In this parametric space. So hope everybody has now recognized and acknowledged that there is a problem with this representation when we are trying to find out lines that are vertical. Okay, this is a big problem. You can't even find, however good the image is, okay, not even these lines you could find out. Okay, can anybody give a solution for it now?
We can flip the image, sir. Like we can find horizontal lines now, sir. Then
Okay.
if we flip the image, we can find
Okay.
vertical lines.
So that's a smart fix, I would say, rather than a smart solution. What you are saying is, in one attempt, you find out, you rotate. Okay, I haven't thought about it. It's a smart fix, I would say, rather than a solution. Come up with a more, yeah, that's very good. In fact, I haven't thought about it, but I don't want to do such fix. I want to do things in more elegantly. This is the X and Y coordinates are pixels, rows, and columns. That's anything whatever. We what would like to see now is representation of a line. Okay. Now, so far we have looked at y equal to mx plus c. If I use this, this is going to fails for vertical lines. I want to come up with a different representation. Assume that I have a line like this. Okay. Now I'm going to draw a perpendicular to this line. Let me call this as rho. Okay. I am drawing a perpendicular to that line and I'm calling this distance as rho and the angle made by it with the x-axis as theta. Okay, so here in the earlier representation, your parameters are m and c. Now, can I uniquely, does this, in the first question is, does this rho and theta uniquely represent a line or not? Just like
It will
m and c
represent,
uniquely represent a line.
it will represent, sir.
Very good. It does represent a line. So now my parameters here are rho and theta. Now you work out what is the equation of this line if I give you rho and theta. Let's say this intercept on x-axis as A, okay? This intercept as B, yeah, it's a simple one, x by
X by
A.
A plus Y by B equals to 1.
Well, yeah, you take this part and then if I give you rho and theta now, can you compute what is the values of A and B? And then from there, you substitute them here and figure out the equation. Please do it quickly.
X cos theta plus Y sin theta equals to rho.
What is the A value you want? Okay, let me call this as O here, for example. Okay, let me call this as A, B, C. What is this angle? 90 degrees, right? That's how we dropped a perpendicular to that line. So this is theta. I want A. I know this is hypotenuse. So you write the equation. So you take the triangle OAC. In that, cos theta is equal to rho by A, isn't it? So that implies your A equal to rho by cos theta. And similarly, you now take triangle OBC. Now look at here. I know this, again, this is being perpendicular, right? What is this angle now? This is equal to theta, because this is 90 minus theta. This is 90 plus 90 minus theta. So whole thing 180. So this is theta. So I know the opposite side, right? And hypotenuse is what I want. So I should take here cos theta or sin theta. What should I take here for the triangle? Sin theta equal to rho by B. That means B equal to rho by sin theta. Now you substitute them. You could represent, if I give you A and B, you could have written x by A plus y by B equal to 1. So that means x by A is rho by cos theta. So x cos theta by rho plus, in the similar lines, y sin theta by rho equal to 1. That implies x cos theta plus y sin theta equal to rho. Okay, you could have arrived at this in different ways also. For example, y equal to mx plus c. This point, you know, is, for example, on x-axis, this is A and 0. Okay, this is on y-axis, this is 0 and B. Now given 2 points, you could write y equal to mx plus c, or m is now y2 minus y1 by x2 minus x1. That you do and substitute here, and c intercept is nothing but b here. You could also do that way, but using this would make your life pretty simple, and you arrive here at this expression. Is it solving the problem now? Suppose if I have a vertical line, okay, then what is the equation I am going to get? What is the rho and theta for a vertical line? Vertical line, right? Now, what is the rho value for a vertical line, by the way? How do you get from here? You need to drop a perpendicular to it. So, or maybe you take a horizontal. Yeah, vertical line is something like this. You consider that makes your understanding easier. Okay. So this is your x-axis, your y-axis. Okay. So this would be equal to, now what is this distance now equal to in terms of rho and theta? This is rho. It is making theta equal to 0 essentially. So that means what you have here, theta equal to 0 means x equal to rho equal to x. Okay, if I call it as x naught, let's say here rho equal to x naught here and theta equal to 0. Now consider the other extreme where you have a horizontal line here. Now from the origin, drop a perpendicular here, then that length is giving you your rho, and its angle with x-axis is giving you the rho value, which is here 90 degrees. So let's say here this y corresponding value is y naught, you substitute them there. So what is it that you are getting? X cos of theta is 90 degrees plus y sine of 90 degrees is equal to your rho is equal to y naught. Now cos 90 is 0. This is 1. So y equal to y naught here. Okay. Suppose if you want to represent it in terms of rho and theta, this is rho is equal to, let's say, y naught here and theta equal to 90 degrees here. So there is no more issue of getting slope. In terms of slope, we had a problem, but the moment you use this expression of rho and theta, there is no problem of representing the line.
Uh, if the line passes through the origin, then
Yeah.
what would be the parameters?
Okay. So you mean this itself is the line, right? Isn't it?
Yes.
Correct. Is it not? So it's a basically a horizontal line, correct? So this is similar to here, right? But your rho is also 0. That's all. 0 comma 90 degrees. See, it's same as this, except that this rho is coming to 0. That's all.
Okay, sir. So I was confused with the theta. So
Yeah.
how
See,
they-
theta you take here. So the simple way to think about it is you draw a perpendicular to that horizontal line. So wherever it is, when you draw a line perpendicular to it, this is going to be theta. So here you could safely take 90 degrees. So just to make sure that it is in the way we thought, you just substitute here. You take, so what I'm saying is rho equal to 90 degrees and theta equal to 90 degrees and rho equal to 0. That's what I'm saying. So you substitute here and see what is happening here. So theta equal to 90 degrees means there is only this term here, y, right? So then y equal to 0. Y equal to 0. So is this not the line with y equal to 0?
Yes, sir.
Right, that's all. You just cross check it in case if there is, I understand from where to see the angle. So a simple check would be just see whether that equation is making sense or not, or you just consider something is slightly above and below also, that will also will help you to interpret it correctly. The question is for you is, I have a point here. This is my image space x comma y. I have a point of x naught and y naught. This is my image space. From there, I am now moving into again a parameter space here, where what is convenient for you to consider on x-axis, by the way, in this representation. That can you see from here? So you could analyze it. Before that, let me also tell you, let's say you take this as rho and this as theta. Similar to the analysis we have done with earlier representation of a straight line.
Rho equal to x cos theta plus y sin theta. X naught cos theta plus y naught sin theta. So again, if we write it in form of another sine wave, like root over x naught square plus y naught square into sine of theta minus some alpha, then we'll end up with a sinusoidal relationship between rho and theta.
Excellent. Very good. That's in fact true. This is no more a line, the locus is. It is in fact, I have, so the equation now you could see there is rho equal to x cos theta plus y sin theta. Now what is fixed now? You know that you want all lines that are passing through x naught comma y naught. That implies this is, if this is given, what would you get here? Rho equal to x naught cos theta plus y naught sin theta. Okay. Now, better way to look at here, the relationship between them, there is a cosine and sine combination going on here. So I have initially started with rho and theta. Now, don't you think it is more convenient to change those axes? Actually use t as your independent parameter, and for that given line now, then rho gets fixed. Is that making sense? So hope you all agree with the logic that I would rather take here rho. I could of course figure out and see how I could mention it the other way around, but this relation is, instead of having a rho here, if I take theta here and rho here, that's making my life much easier. Now I vary theta and I get rho as a combinations of sines and cosines, each having a weighted by values x naught and y naught. So sum of two weighted sinusoids. That is what my rho is. So I would be then should be getting, depending on my theta, it will of course get restricted to the shape will not sinusoidally be repeating there. But what you would get is a sine. The locus is sinusoid. Is that making sense? The locus of a all straight lines passing through a given point is now, you will not get, of course this is wrongly drawn, you would be getting just one period of it, because your theta you are not going to, what is the range of theta you would look at here? Let's say you could start from anywhere for theta. Let's consider something like this minus pi by 2 to pi by 2. Okay, so it is enough if you consider these values. Is that not enough to represent lines? See here, this line is same as this line, and similarly you have a line here, that line is same as this line, this line is same as this line. So if you look at in terms of angles, if I am changing from minus pi by 2 to pi by 2, okay, that are over a range of pi, that's good enough, is it not? So then combinations of that could give me something like this. And then you take yet another point here. Again, consider all lines passing through that point. That would give you another sinusoid here. And then I assume that there is another point that would give you another sinusoid here. So all would, again, now you look at number of votes for a varying theta in the corresponding row, that would give you the line, let's say another one here, okay, that also you consider, that would give you this rho and theta values corresponding to this. Is it fine? So just that I have, although I showed here the origin, so let me, you just consider this theta is, for example, maybe, yeah, no, I should have written that maybe like this. That's much better. I show it from minus pi by 2 to pi by 2. Okay. So these lines are something like this. Clear with the way we are representing the line in rho and theta space and why we are doing so, the derivation for the equation, and now how each point in the image space gets represented in the parametric space of rho and theta, and how the line passing through, let's say 2 points here, gets represented there, and the locus shape of that locus, all the, and the range of theta values that we need to consider. All these points I hope clear to everyone. So this is how we are representing now the line by rho and theta. Again, it is up to you on x and y. Okay, again, most of these slides are not my own, but again, they are also not from a single source. I'm taking from multiple slides I have downloaded. Just make sure, depending on the convention that you are following, you need to take a look at whether what is the range of theta. Okay, this might vary your theta. And again, there is nothing wrong if you are taking theta with respect to y also, okay, still equation would slightly change, but still it is a unique representation. Okay, nothing stops you. That's just 90 minus theta is equal to what we are calling now as theta in that case. Anyways, coming back here, this is clear now to you. Then x cos theta plus y sin theta equal to rho. Given xi comma yi, that will be equal to xi cos theta plus yi sin theta equal to rho. And this would what give you the locus, and that's how it would look like now, right? And suppose if this has been taken as x-axis, let's say, then you could notice here this would vary from 0 to pi. Probably that's why this notation in that particular textbook has been taken, so that you could simply then draw this from 0 to pi. Nothing wrong with that. This is also a very good representation. Just you can avoid the negative axis. You simply vary theta from 0 to pi there. And each curve in the figure represents a family of lines that pass through a particular point. So that's how family of lines passing through that point. If you look at in the rho theta space, each curve would be representing that. Horizontal line means theta equal to 0. Okay. Again, this I have considered this as my x-axis. Pay attention to that. In this, so all these theta equal to 0 could be theta equal to pi, could be pi by 2. So please pay attention there. Okay, vertical line will have theta. So depending on x and y I considered, this could change. Now, if it is clear, now let's look at how you proceed here. Basically, you need to vary theta here. That's easier one to do, because your rho is equal to x cos theta plus y sin theta. So you vary theta. Let's say in our earlier case, the theta could vary from minus pi by 2 to pi by 2. So you compute its values at regular intervals, and for that values of theta, you compute the rho. So again, the algorithm would remain same, except that the relationship between these two parameters and the range of values that these parameters can take are varying. And of course, it will also give you some hints on what's the values of rho that you could get. Despite you varying theta value, it is not at all difficult for you to figure out here that suppose I have, let's take this notation itself. Okay, now I assume that this is my x, this is my y. I'm just following whatever has been given. Now suppose I have a line here like this. This would be my rho here. Assume that I have a line like this here. So then what would be my rho value would be? This would give me the rho value here, because I need to drop a perpendicular. So this original image is this, but my rho value is this, and accordingly you could compute the theta value here depending on how you are looking at it. So this is your x-axis. So it depends on from which you consider as say this is what you are considering. Assume that, then this is your theta value here. So what is the maximum value of rho that can be obtained in a given image? Can you say something about it? What is the maximum value that rho can take?
The length of diagonal of the image.
That's all. So assume that it's an n by n pixel space, then diagonal will be equal to square root of n square plus n square, which is equal to root 2n. But be clear here, because it can be either in this direction, or it might be, as I showed here, it could be in this direction also. Okay, and again, if it's not very clear for you, from see, these two should complement for you. One is the geometric representation and drawing them, and another aspect is analyzing this equation in itself should tell you something. So my rho, for example, for what value? Let's say take theta equal to 0. What is then happening? Rho equal to 1. You now take 180 degrees minus, or you are taking a weights of sine. Look at it this way. You are taking a weight of sine and cosine, okay, with which are weighted by x and y. You could very much get their rho value to be negative also here. So that's why you could just pay some attention and spend some time with them, and you would realize that this can take negative values, and that could be, for example, opposite. If you look at it, that could take minus root 2 times minus of the diagonal value. That's all. Okay, so again, if it is clear, I would go one more step further now. Other than changing this parameterization from slope intercept, okay, to from the slope intercept to rho and theta, and the relationship between rho and theta, the rest is same as the way we have discussed earlier. The whole procedure is same. You diagonalize, you discretize your theta values. For each discretized theta value, you consider the rho values. To begin with, you initialize all the cell values of this 2D array to 0. Now you vary theta in terms of the predefined steps for each of the x0, xi comma yi point, and then you increment the corresponding cells accordingly, and finally take that cell which has maximum number of votes, and that is giving you the rho and theta. Then once you know the rho and theta, you could draw the line there. Is that clear?
So can you make it visualize on the image,
Yes,
like
yes.
minus root 2, minus n root 2?
Yeah, I would leave that exercise to you. It's a bit tricky there, so I don't. I want you to do some mess up yourself before you draw that. But I would rather take a safe route here, where I would say from here that this can take negative value. Hope from the
So if you
equation it is
take,
clear, right?
so but if you take it as negative value, let's say theta equals to 180 degrees,
Hmm.
then we'll get cos as negative,
Hmm.
but that would be out of the image, right? So
Yeah.
image is from 0 to 90 degrees, I guess.
Yeah. Again, this statement of minus root 2 times n to plus root 2 times n, we have to make sure with how we consider this x and y. So that also we have to carefully look into. Okay, since I stitched from multiple sources, I'm not I'm making any effort from my end to figure out whether it is for this particular notation or not. I leave that exercise part to you. And one reference you could see is for half transforms. This Forsyth and Ponk has these things, so you could go through that. And if I am not wrong, it would be also there in the textbook I shared, Sizelski's textbook on computer vision, which is there online. That also has it. And what I would also recommend you is just write. It hardly takes a few lines of code, not more than 20 lines of code is required to just represent, draw, take different lines. Okay, you could generate this without any difficulty, any one image, okay, with few points of a line. That's very simple. You could take few sets of points, and then you in fact draw some things like this and see how it is varying and whether it is mapping with it or not. I would like you to do this exercise yourself. Okay, so I would rather spend some time with showing you these illustrations of how they look at, like for example, if you have a perfect line, okay, this is what is going to happen. There will be no more than, see, draw the lines here. This is not hard to visualize for you. There will be any 2 points. So this is the kind of graph you would be getting, where all of them would be coming here. So again, this should make sense. And again, assume something like this. So depending on how you are doing here, your theta value, okay, there is a slight shift here. You could see one line here and another line here. That's why whole these overlaps would happen around a region rather than a very nice single point intersection of all these sinusoids. Something similar to this could happen here. Now, what would happen? Suppose I have two lines like this. Okay, you are going to do this as a part of your assignment also, which is going to come very soon, and you would realize there that you would get now two intersections like this, where all this, one of them would be, well, that depends on where your theta started. You could see here for the, if I have considered x and y, I would rather recommend you to follow the x and y notations that have been taken in the current slides rather than what I have drawn there on the notebook, because notebook I worked out myself and I have not really tried
So
to.
both are same, sir.
Both are same, huh? Okay, then it is good. Otherwise, please take a look into it. So here, essentially, all these points, let's say one of them could be this, I guess. Okay, this would all the sinusoids coming from the points that are there on this line would contribute to this, whereas this could, let's say, contribute to the other one. Now, another example, you might be having something like this. So in that case, if you are drawing them, you would see this. Again, you look at the number of votes, and if you're, again, effects of binning, which I would discuss in the interest of time next class, would give you something like this. Okay, this might, depending on the size, some of you have already censored this effect in the previous class itself, which is very good. So you could, depending on that, sometimes you could get a single line here. Another example here, if you have something like this, you would be getting the lines here. Okay, so another example here, you consider you have an image like this. Ideally, you have the edges like this, right? But when you draw the whole stuff, you would be ending up getting things like this. You don't know really the end of it, but anyways, you wouldn't be able to keep track of the ends here. So that's what would be eventually happening. Okay, maybe I will yeah, this also play, I'll stop here. Okay, so I will anyway discuss. Anyway, there are other points. Next class would be the last class on Huff transform, which we would have on Monday. Before the class, I would also want you to think about, instead of lines, if I assume that I have circles, think how many parameters are required. How do I now going to come up with a model similar to the lines, but now for a circle? So you think about it, you write your own algorithm, and that's what I would be asking you. You come up with, don't refer to any of the textbooks, just based on what you have studied so far. This exercise will help you a lot in future. So you write your own algorithm now. This, you have all the background fully ready, okay, for doing this. You are given, instead of lines, circles. Okay, in a given image you have circles. This is your image that has been given. This is again part of your exercise. So before I tell you the algorithm, explain it, you should be ready all the time. Actually, this class should be redundant for you. Next class, you come up, you step by step, you write everything, how you do it, how the locus would look like, every detail, every bit and piece of it, you do it. Okay, I'll stop here and see you in the next class.